Welcome to Flipped Learning Remixed, the podcast that mixes cutting-edge technology with learning. I'm your host, Troy Cockrum, and joining me is my co-host, Joan Brown.
Hello.
Hello, Joan.
Hi.
And then today's podcast, we're talking with Faith Plunkett. Faith, can you tell us what your role in education is?
Sure. Hi, guys. My name is Faith Plunkett. I teach Entertainment Technology Academy in Huntsville City Schools in Alabama. So basically, I teach computer programming and video game design to kindergarten through 5th grade students.
Computer program and video game design. Wow, that seems like it would be a very entertaining class to participate in as well as teach.
Yes.
And it's, one of the things we wanted to talk about today was computer programming. And since you mentioned the grade levels, that's one of the reasons I wanted you on, is because I hear a lot of people say my kids are too young for this or that. And repeat again what grades that you teach computer programming to?
I teach kindergarten through 5th grade.
So that's almost all of those grades have said to me their kids are too young to do that.
It's definitely possible.
Oh, definitely.
So one of the one new thing that's come out recently is what kind of prompted the idea for this podcast is the new Tickle app. Do we know who makes the Tickle app, or is it just Tickle the company?
The guy who creates the Tickle app, his name is Mike.
Okay.
Okay.
Very
Yeah.
interactive app.
It started as a Kickstarter.
Gilbert, maybe. Mike Gilbert? Does that sound right?
I think so.
Okay.
And it started as a Kickstarter. That's good to know. So the Tickle app is a programming app that uses a lot of Scratch, but it's for multiple devices.
Well, for those that don't know what Scratch is, you're taking chunks of programming code and you're putting them into puzzle pieces. So basically, kids are linking together puzzle pieces of code that make sense. Just to get an overview.
Yeah, so
there you go. That's a perfect example. And each of them are color-coded based on, I mean, probably Faith is going to be better explaining this, but they are color-coded based on the type of script that they're doing. And I like the way Tickle sort of categorizes those. It's similar to Scratch, but it's not exactly the same. It's a little more simplistic, and it works well with the younger students.
Mm-hmm.
Faith, what kind of experience do you have with using Tickle with K through 5?
This app came out right at the very end of the school year, so I haven't gotten to try it a lot with my students. I did try it with some 5th graders, and they loved it. I had previously used the macro lab with the Spheros with my older kids, and it was okay, but it's kind of hard to read for some of the older kids. And it's not very colorful or interactive. It's very confusing for them. So when I saw Tickle, I was like, oh my goodness, the kids are used to dragging and dropping, and they're used to the Blockly code, so it was just perfect for them to be able to pick up, and they knew from the get-go how to use it. It was colorful, it was interactive, they could program in just seconds, so they loved it. I'm looking forward to playing with it more next year.
That's sort of what we ought to spend our summer doing, is playing with it.
Well, and I'm just looking at the devices that it's available on. So the Sphero we mentioned, and I love the Sphero. We'll talk more about Sphero in general, or more specifically in a little bit. But Ollie, which is also made by Sphero, Arduinos, the Parrot mini drones, and then
Have you seen the new mini drone they have, the hydrofoil? It actually goes in water. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
But Arduino, it's only for one type of Arduino, so I personally own an Arduino Uno, and I realized that one wasn't going to work with it. Maybe they will expand, and I'm hoping they will, but...
the Arduino Bean is the one that it can be used with, okay. And then, if you want to program your light bulbs, the Philips Hue light bulbs.
See, that
So,
is really fascinating, and I can't wait to figure out how to do light bulbs, because to me, you've got the real world there. You
right.
know?
Well, the whole home automation
Hmm.
um, trend is one area that people don't think about is going to need programmers and people with the skills to manage those devices.
So you just hand
Right.
it to your kindergartner and you say, "Can you program my house to do this and that?" Yes, it'd be fun.
So yeah, so the Tickle I like it because it has multiple devices and not just one device. Like the Sphero, apps are only good for Spheros and things like that. Not that that's a bad thing, but the Tickle app, and they have some fun things built in as well. They have some courses built in, like 3 or 4 courses, and then some projects that you can do. But then they have an orca whale that's built into it, and a nyan whale. So you got
That's
some
true.
fun things
We
built
should
in.
clarify that if you do load the Tickle app, and it is an iOS app, if you load it on an iPad or an iPhone, you can start programming right away. You don't have to have a device, because you can program on the screen to play games similar to like Scratch, little character games. Um, and they do have, like you said, the orca whale, and they have a variety of characters. But then you can also choose to program a device.
So Faith, tell us some more products that you use with kids to teach them programming.
We use Codable for our younger kids, especially our kindergarten students. We actually bought the site license for our school, so all of our kids could have access to it. But I really like it because it's colorful, it's interactive. Um, we use learn.co.org with our older kids, but the problem we were having with that was the learn.co.org requires a lot of reading for instructions, and it's hard for kindergartners to read. But they can look at arrows and know what to do. So that's one of the reasons we really like Codable. Also, Gretchen and Neil from Codable, they are awesome. They are great with customer service. If you have any kind of problem, they answer pretty quickly. They host a chat on Tuesday nights, not during the summer, but during the school year, called Kids Can Code. That's the hashtag Kids Can Code, and it's Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. And I've really enjoyed connecting with other educators across the world through their chat on how they implement Codable and how they implement computer programming in all the grades. It's a great chat. So if you're interested in computer programming in schools, I highly would recommend checking it out.
I'm checking it out right now.
Right, so am I. Faith, I was going to ask you, so tell me a little bit about Codable. What devices does it use, and what can the kids create with it?
Codable can be used on the iPad or on the computer. There's a desktop version and a logging in on the internet version. And it's basically, you have these things that are about this big called fuzzes, and kids can customize their fuzz, and they just program their fuzz to go from point A to point B. So it teaches critical thinking and the trial and error skills that we really want to implement to our younger students. It does not have, at the moment, a Scratch-based platform where students can take those skills and create anything, but who knows, it might be coming. But it does teach, the vocabulary, the functions, the loops, the algorithms, and again, the critical thinking. It's so important for the younger students to pick those skills up.
So what successes have you had? Do you have any students that have gone above and beyond and coded something amazing?
Towards the end of the year, learn.co.org released a play lab where students could create their own games. So we played on that, and it was amazing to see. This was my 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. It was amazing to see them take all the skills that they've learned through the school year and create the stories, create the games. And they loved playing them. They loved having their friends play them. They loved taking them home and showing their parents, and just showing them all the skills that they'd learned. It was kind of like a combination of everything they'd learned throughout the year. So it was really cool to see, hey, they're actually getting it. And when I hear students using the vocabulary that I teach them, in math class or in science class. I know that they're picking up those skills, and they're vitally important, I think, for our students.
Have you used excuse me, CS First?
I have not.
Okay, I used it. It's produced by Google, but it just you go to the website. It gives you some modules, but then you have to go outside and go to learn.scratch.com to build whatever they ask you to build, and then you copy and paste it back into CS First. So, you know, my students just got bored of jumping back and forth between the two and just stayed on Scratch instead of going back to CS First. So they didn't finish any of the modules in CS First because there wasn't a good link between the two. But the concept is good to get it set up as a club, and it gives you a weekly module and you can set up the times that the kids can use it and things like that. So.
Now, one of the ones that I tried this year and only got to the beginning was Stencil. And Stencil is very much a Scratch-based, and as we say again, Scratch, we keep using that as though everyone knows what we're saying, but it is a Scratch-based puzzle piece kind of coding environment, but you can put it on your phones. It was a little challenging to load a game onto my phone, but I finally got it done. So that's kind of the next step. If you don't want to be tethered to just a computer or the device that you're coding on, you can actually move it to another device. Either of you ever use the App Inventor? And that's only an Android-based system.
I played with it and found it difficult for me, so I never tried it with students because I found it difficult. Now, I'm not a math and science person, so that could have been why it was difficult. But
we both get to say that we aren't math and science people. But one of the things I've found is that, at least, you know, coming from a secondary position, that MIT App Inventor seems to be the tool they like to use, because the kids, again, as I'm saying, they can load it on a phone and take it with them. So if they go to a camp for a week, they can go home with something they've programmed. So that's just a thought. If anyone's looking into something at maybe the middle and high school level, that's an idea.
So I really like the Spheros, and I don't get enough use out of them. If I had them if I had my own classroom, I would use them quite a bit more. But Faith, can you tell us how you use Spheros?
Sure. When I actually wrote a grant for the Spheros way back in August, and I wrote them because I taught in an advanced math class, and I saw how many cool math activities I could do with the Spheros, and I was like, hey, I teach technology and math, and that would be the perfect tool. So I wrote a grant, and I ended up getting enough money for 2 Spheros. So I bought them, and I used almost every single lesson on the website. For those of you that aren't familiar, Sphero has Spark lessons, and there are several science and math lessons on there for free that includes a teacher guide, a student guide, student worksheets. So my students and I did several of the activities. We learned about percentages. We learned about, we drew geometric figures with the Sphero. We did all kinds of activities with speed and distance and range, mean, median, and mode. And the kids loved that. They love being able to integrate technology into their math class and just do something outside of the box, do something a little different. I also used them. I had, at one point in my classroom, I had a huge maze made out of Mega Blocks. So they programmed the Sphero around the maze. So that's mostly what I use the Sphero for, mostly for math. But I'm looking forward to integrating it more into the technology component of my classroom next year.
Faith, can I ask, what class do you teach? What is it? Are you contained? Are you a computer teacher? What is that?
Well, I teach entertainment technology,
Okay.
and it's basically a special. So I see all the kids for 50 minutes once a week, except for kindergarten. I see them for 30 minutes once a week. So.
Well, now I did. I used Spheros with an English teacher, and we had students make movies with the Sphero as the main character, and they couldn't use dialogue, it was an exercise on how to tell a story without dialogue, but it was also a chance to use the Spheros and get them out and um, get people using them. So we used it for that, and then this year I've got my art teachers agreed to do Sphero art. So we haven't worked out all the details, but we're going to do some Sphero art this year and see how that goes. So
do they roll through paint? What do you do?
Yeah, you put there's a cover for them. It's called like a nubby cover,
okay.
And you just put paint down, and then you roll them through the paint, and then roll them in the pattern you want to make the design or whatnot, and then you can rinse off the nubby cover and roll it through different colors, or you can let the paint dry on it and roll it through different colors. So it's going to be a fun activity to see how it works out.
Oh my goodness!
I also saw a video one time on Pinterest, or there's a link on Pinterest somewhere, where they had hooked a pen up to the Sphero, and they programmed him to draw things using a pen or a marker or something. So that's kind of cool. I was thinking about trying that with some of my kids next year.
And the new Star Wars robot was inspired by Sphero, and from my understanding, is in the toys that they're going to market along with the movie are made by Sphero. But there's a guy online who cuts a Sphero in half and puts a magnet inside it and makes the robot from the Star Wars movies out of his Sphero. So if you want to cut one in half,
oh my goodness.
there's plans for that, but I'm not going to do that with my school Sphero.
So let me just tell you, I run a video club, and they have Sphero Cam. I mean, this is an app that you install, and it's only on Android, but I've got to try this, because apparently somehow it uses the Sphero in the camera to like simulate that it's there. I can't quite understand it, but I can't wait to see what it's going to do.
Well, we printed a 3D chariot. Now they sell the chariots for the Spheros, because we printed one on our 3D printer, and the wheels didn't really. The axle was too stiff, so the wheels didn't spin. But they had some that you could have attached an iPhone to the back and put a camera on it, but we never got that far with it. But yeah, there's a ton of things you can do with Spheros. That's why I like them so much.
Mm-hmm. And they're almost indestructible. I mean, you were talking about the video, but I mean, the kids can drop them, and it seems like they're really rugged. So you've got a good environment there for students.
Well, we've broken one, and we don't know how it broke, but two of the wheels inside, they're plastic, and they broke in half, and it wouldn't spin anymore, and we could hear something rattling around inside it. And so since it didn't work anymore, we broke it in half to find out what was wrong, and we don't know how it ended up breaking. Some kids said there was a 5th grader who drove it down our stairs, but I don't know if that's truly the case or not. We never did identify what actually broke it, but we have broken one, but the rest of them have held up pretty well. So tell us. I saw Faith demonstrate these BeeBots, because that's one thing that you can really use with kindergartners. Is that right, Faith?
Yeah, kindergarten through 2nd grade.
Explain what a BeeBot is and how you use it.
A BeeBot is about a 6-inch bumblebee, and there are arrows on top, so you can have students write out a program, and then they can actually program on top of the bee and have him go to match your cards. This was great for kindergarten through 2nd grade because they're still learning their left from their right, so they can visually see after they program it, hey, did the bee go where I want it to go? And then you can teach them the whole concept of debugging. Hey, it didn't go where I wanted it to go. How can I fix it?
And so what kind of, I mean, you give them like a maze or something to try to make it through, or?
Yes, I had all kinds of Mega Block mazes all the time in my classroom. It kind of looked like a jungle in there at some point. But they would work on, I would have that as one of the centers, and they would work on trying to program him to go all the way through the maze. And they also had these little cards they had to line up, so they had to actually write out their program or their algorithm.
Do the cards come with it, or did you make the cards?
I bought them separately on a website called SNS Worldwide.
Okay. Yeah, because the cards were nice. They had directional kind of things, and so they could practice putting down the directions before they practiced actually punching in the steps.
Yes.
Faith, what's your favorite tool of the ones we haven't talked about? What's your favorite tool to use?
Well, my favorite website, I think, is at the moment that I'm looking at. We use Tinker a lot, and Tinker has free lessons and paid lessons. We had the kids do a couple of the free lessons, but there's a My Project section where students could create their own project. It's kind of like Scratch. We couldn't use Scratch in our district because of the whole you having to have an email address thing, but the kids loved working on Tinker. They loved creating and making. I also really like the app Pixel Press Floors. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. My students didn't get to use it this year, but we're hoping to next year. But students can, you can basically draw out a video game. And these little boxes, all these papers you can print out, and then you scan it with your iPad, and it'll upload it into the app, and it'll turn it into the video game that you've drawn out. It's a free app. It's called Pixel Press Floors. It's amazing. I really like it. You can create your own barriers. You can do all kinds of things. So I'm looking forward to using that next year. I've really enjoyed playing around with it this summer. And I love my Dash and Dot. I love, love, love my Dash and Dot. I got him kind of towards the end of the school year as well. And he is the coolest thing ever. I can't wait to use him more next year.
Explain what Dash and Dot is. I saw you demonstrate him, but explain what it is.
Dash is this little robot, and you can program him to move and to do basically anything you want him to do. There are several different apps for the Dash, and they're very interactive, very colorful, very easy for younger students to use. And I tried it with my older students. They thought he was the coolest thing ever too, so I guess it works with 5th graders as well. And he also comes with different items, accessories. One of them is a xylophone, so you can literally program him to play a xylophone, so that's really awesome. There's a blog that I follow called The Digital Scoop, and the lady that writes the blog, she's had the Dash and Dot in her classroom for several months, and she has all kinds of worksheets and all kinds of lesson plans. I really like Dash and Dot because it comes with curriculum ideas. It's made by a company called Make Wonder, and it comes with all kinds of curriculum ideas, and they're about to launch a new curriculum that has like an activity for every grade level and every subject, kindergarten through 5th grade. So I'm looking forward to using that as a center and implementing it more into my kids' curriculum and doing a lot of cross-curricular projects. I'm very excited.
So yeah, I was going to ask that. Do you find other teachers implementing these kind of activities in their classrooms?
We did it this year, but I'm going to try to make things more cross-curricular next year with everything that we do. We're in a complete one-to-one school district. Every student 1st through 12th grade has a device. So, you know, the kids are constantly using the technology, and I wish, you know, we would use technology more innovatively and to teach them more of the pedagogy behind it. So I'm hoping to work with the teachers more this year and kind of move that along a little bit. I think it would be awesome.
Yeah, because we got rid of our computer special because we found teachers said, well, if they're doing it in computer class, I don't have to do it in my class. Mm-hmm. And so I do a lot of these in our innovation center. I use the Spheros and CS First and a lot of other, you know, the Vex robots and things like that. But I can't get teachers to use it in their class as much, you know. So I think those are definitely, you know, skills across all the curriculum. You know, not just math or science, but every subject or content area could use these tools, even if they're not specifically teaching programming.
Definitely.
Joan, you're muted.
Hi, sorry. Had a guest walk in the room. I do believe every math teacher has an opportunity, and they really should explore it if they can. There's so much you can do even with just Scratch mathematically. When you start creating your own variables and maybe you're trying to keep score, all those things are really actually complex math equations that the kids can learn. And you know, if people were to divide it up between the core curriculum, I know in the elementary it might be a contained classroom, but as I look at the middle school and I think, oh, the English department could create the characters, and then, you know, the social studies department could talk about the history of the setting, you know, and then you could really make it work because a kid could continue to work on a program throughout a period of time. It wouldn't have to be, oh, we're doing this one time in class, this is it. And that would make it a little bit more manageable for the teachers instead of, oh, everybody's going to be doing it for a tiny bit throughout the quarter or throughout a semester.
Definitely. My city, Huntsville, Alabama, we were ranked #1 in the nation for STEM jobs recently. So, you know, the technology and the computer programming is out there. We have so many people in our city that are computer programmers, rocket scientists. We have NASA here and Boeing and all these big companies. And my goal is to give kids as many tools as possible so that when they leave 12th grade and they go out into the world, you know, they have the foundation, they have all the skills. So I'm hoping that it's not just a one-time thing in my class. I hope they're going to take those skills and they're going to build on it and build on it and build on it. So, you know, by the time they're in 12th grade, they're going to be dynamite, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to see them.
Well, you know, I heard Jamie Cassup say recently, he said, you know, a lot of parents still have this idea that they want their kids to be doctors and lawyers, and while that's not necessarily a bad thing, he said, if we encouraged our kids to be computer programmers, they don't even have to go to college, and they could be making as much as a doctor or a lawyer.
Definitely. I know there are companies around here in Huntsville that will hire high school graduates right out of school with computer programming knowledge, and they'll make $60 grand a year. And that's one of the reasons why our program was established, is that so our kids could have a job like that. They could have that as a career, you know, if they chose to.
Absolutely.
In our community.
There are plenty of competitions as well. I don't want to call them hacking competitions, but they are, and that's where they find the young and the bright talent that they're recruiting around here in DC.
Mm-hmm.
Have you used the Arduinos?
I have not, but we have used the Makey-Makeys. I know they're sort of similar.
Yes.
Not really.
I have not used the Arduinos, but I've heard a lot of good things about them. Joan, you've used one Arduino, correct?
I have, and you know, we've got as far as you know, doing some LEDs and getting them programmed to do different things. I did buy a BeeBot, and that is a mini robot that you place the Arduino on. And at the end of the year, we were getting it to do some things. We were worried that some of our parts might be faulty because we went through a lot of tests, and you know, there you go again. That debugging part, we were in the midst of debugging our BeeBot at the end of the school year, but it was good practice, you know, and the kids were never discouraged. They always were brainstorming new ways in which to debug something, so it was definitely worthwhile. I would really recommend Arduinos because you get into electronics as well, and at least at the 7th and 8th grade, you're always seeing kids, you know, making that circuit in class, and we're going to light a light bulb, we're going to do a parallel, we're going to series, you know, whatever. But when you actually do it on an Arduino, you start to make sense of what you're learning in class. You're starting to say, oh, well, here's an actual practical use. And I think that application would be huge for these kids because you know, making a light bulb light is one thing, and that's pretty exciting, but it doesn't really take you anywhere. And I think the kids start to see that, oh, you know, I can actually, you know, make a dress that lights up, or, you know, I can make a neon sign that does things. Then they start to see it.
That's what I want to get into, trying with Arduinos with e-textiles and see how that works out.
Maybe a Halloween costume? Those are fun. Yeah. There's a lot of good plans out there for Halloween costumes.
Make myself a note here.
Yes, yes. Next year, watch for Troy. He's going to ring the doorbell. And something's going to light up. I just know it.
So, Faith, could you tell the listeners how they could find out more about you? Are you on Twitter? Do you have a blog, things like that?
Yes, I'm on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is Miss F Plunkett. And I also have a blog and website. It's easybreezytechnology.weebly.com.
Great. easybreezytechnology.weebly.com?
Yes.
Awesome. And we'll all be at ISTE next week, so if you're listening to this before ISTE and you're there, look us up, find us, say hi to us. Faith, thank you for coming on. I think programming and all these tools are really coming on strong, and especially combined with the maker movement. I think a lot of people need to start implementing these across all classrooms.
Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure.
And for the listeners, we will, Joan and I are planning a post-ISTE wrap-up show to kind of talk about what all gets crammed into our head at ISTE and what all wows us. And Joan, what are you excited for? Is there anything that's excited you?
I am very excited, to be perfectly honest. I'm such a consumer. I love the booths on the floor. I mean, I love to go around and see the new tech because my brain just churns. But I am hoping to really focus on two things, kind of like the STEM integration and just really, you know, programming more. To be honest, I really want to see like your ideas on how to integrate it in the classroom with the regular core curriculum. There's so much that can be done. We just haven't even scratched the surface. Scratch the surface. Oh, I'm trying to make a joke now. Bad.
Faith, what are you excited to see at ISTE?
Oh gosh, everything. I'll be working in the expo hall on Tuesday with iSchool Initiative, so that's where you might find me there. But like she said, the integrating coding into the curriculum, there's going to be several sessions on that, and also the maker movement. I'm really big into the maker movement, and just trying to be as innovative as possible next year. So I'm very excited. I won PBS Learning Media Digital Innovator of the Year for Alabama. So I'm going to go to the Tickle Summit before ISTE, a couple days before ISTE. So it'll be just like 1 week of awesomeness. So I'm super excited.
I'm looking forward to seeing the Google Expedition.
Oh, yeah, I saw that last night. Looks really cool.
So, yeah, I signed up for a pilot or whatever, but haven't heard anything back, and then they sent out a thing today that they're going to show it to us at the Google Certified Teacher Party. So,
oh, excellent. Good.
So I'm excited to try it out because I'm a cardboard fanboy, and you know, I'm looking for more ways to implement it into the classroom. So. Well, so Faith, thank you again for coming on, and for the listeners, we will talk to you again soon.
Bye. Thank